Good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy Friday Eve, everybody. Welcome to the pre-market prep session for this Thursday, December 7th, 2023. Welcome to the seventh day of Christmas, I guess. Good morning. Yes, Alicia, Dawn, Paul, Andrea, Rob, good morning. Hope all you guys had a good night's sleep. A great grand awakening this morning, and you're ready to get after it today. Seize the day. We got the gingerbread house in the background. Um, Queen, Detrice, good morning. Great to have you here. Got the little gingerbread house in the background. This weekend on Saturday is actually Bailey's aunt's fourth annual gingerbread house making competition. I cannot lie, I've never once brought home the prize. I'm not the best gingerbread architect, but this week we're gonna have the gingerbread house in the background to bring in the vibes, right? To cheer me on to victory. This is gonna be our time, all right? I'll let you guys know how it goes. Maybe, unless my house is disgusting. Maybe I'll post it in the group. But let's go ahead and get into it, right? We've been kind of waiting on some movement, some conviction to happen from the market. We lost the support on that rising wedge on the 4 hour 2 days ago. We were looking to see confirmation of that yesterday, and we did with a big red candle that actually ended up being a bearish engulfing candle. So if you guys aren't familiar, then that is a candle that can single-handedly change the trend. So now we are officially downtrending, right? So we want to see that being really followed up with some mean continuation today, and that's what we're looking for. Kind of as we head into the end of the week. I've also got a real dropping today that'll be very, I guess, time relative. The like kind of I don't know what the word is that I'm looking for, the phrase I'm looking for, but it's time sensitive. That's what it is, time sensitive. About the Santa rally, about December, about what to expect, for the end of the year going into next year. So make sure you check that out. And if you do see that, drop some little Santa emojis in the comments there. But otherwise, let's dive into what we got going on today. Make sure you throw that one in the chat, signifying your intention to get 1% better. The return on compound interest on investments in self is insane. You can't beat it, right? I don't care if you're Tesla, Apple, whatever. So we want to make sure we do that and do that with intention each and every day. Now, in terms of our top news, up, and away, the most valuable startup in America might be getting even more valuable. Fresh reports suggest that SpaceX, ticker SPACE, is in talks that would value Elon Musk's space firm at $175 billion or more, following a tender offer that could range from $500 million to $750 million and price shares at about $95 a piece. That's up from the $150 billion valuation SpaceX received in the summer that would trounce the $137 billion valuation it received when raising $750 million from investors in January. Higher and higher, momentum kicked into high gear after SpaceX's soaring revenue helped it turn a profit for the first quarter of this year following 2 straight annual losses. It's on track to book revenues of about $9 billion in 2023, with sales projected to climb to $15 billion in 2024. Besides its Falcon rocket launches, much of SpaceX's value comes from Starlink, which provides high-speed internet access beamed across a growing constellation of satellites. A separate Starlink IPO could come next year as the division grows in its consumer and military importance on the world stage. I mean, there's really no way to cut cards. Elon Musk is the most influential person of the next century. Like, it is what it is, right? And especially over the course of the next decade, you could argue that at least. But when you look at this point, having a monopoly on space travel, this guy has single-handedly created a company that, if you want to get something to space, you need SpaceX, bar none. And you can't get more forward-looking than what he's been. And also Starlink just absolutely changing the world, because there's so many sectors of the world that have no internet access. Like, it's crazy to think about, but there are still so many sectors in the world with no internet access. And he's, like, again, single-handedly bringing internet access, which is like access to everything, right? So bringing access to like real first world life to areas of the world that couldn't even dream of having it beforehand. So it really is crazy when you talk about impact, and when you really think about it, like, that's crazy impact. Elon Musk is a crazy person, but he also has crazy impact. On that note, Starlink just completed 9 months of U.S. military tests in the Arctic, clearing the way for potential contracts from the Space Force, we're really getting into the 22nd century type headlines now. We got rocket ship companies and the Space Force, doling out contracts. The satellite service has also taken a role in the Ukraine-Russia war, has been pitched to help past protests in Iran and potentially provide services in Gaza subject to Israeli approval. On the commercial side of things, Starlink has also been hailed by those living in rural or remote areas and is now available on all 7 continents, including Antarctica. Wild. Freaking Wi-Fi in Antarctica. Battle for the Sky, we got polar bears on there playing Candy Crush. Battle for the Sky, with 5,100 satellites so far delivered to low Earth orbit, SpaceX has rapidly expanded its Starlink constellation. Its closest U.S. rival, Amazon's Project Kuiper, is far behind with only 2 initial prototype satellites, and even recently inked a contract with SpaceX to get its satellites to orbit. Again, I love it. It's like the same thing with Tesla, right? You might not be driving a Tesla, but you will be using a Tesla supercharger. You might not be launching a Starlink satellite, but you will be using a SpaceX rocket, right? They always talk about during the gold rush, you want to be the guy selling the picks and the shovels. Elon is the pick and shovel guy. And this is the stuff that we take notes on, right? In like just daily life, no matter what capacity you're working in, an entrepreneur, an employee, helping somebody out, volunteering, right? You want to bring the same thought process, the same mindset when it comes to really digging in your feet in terms of making yourself invaluable moving forward, right? How do I ingratiate myself into what is happening in a way that I cannot be replaced? That's how you always need to be thinking about, especially as an employee, right? So for all my employees that are sitting back, you think you're good, learn AI. Just take an hour a day, maybe an hour a week, right? 2 hours a week on Saturday, on Sunday. Learn some stuff that makes you unique, right? And then that way you don't have to sit there and be like, oh man, I can be replaced. It's like, oh no, this person can't really be replaced because what they bring is kind of non-quantifiable, right? There's so many other things they do in addition to their job that's a person we have to keep on. You always have to be thinking about that. At the time in which you think it's pertinent to do that, it's probably already too late, right? So do it now while things are comfortable. Start learning things, start doing extra stuff outside of what you're assigned to do. And then when it comes, that time, people aren't ready to put your head on the chopping block. Like that's the biggest thing. Make sure you're indispensable because you do things that nobody else is taking the time to be willing to do. And, you put yourself in a position of power. Throw a 3 in the chat if that makes sense. If you're going to try and do that exact same thing, because at this point, I don't think anybody's safe with all the stuff that, I've been reading and researching when it comes to, AI. I don't really know if there's any profession that it won't affect. And this isn't trying to fear monger. This is trying to, again, proactively position and put yourself in a position of power. Right. Same thing with the market. If the market drops, it's fear mongering. If you just say, "Oh, the market's dropping, like we're all screwed." Da da da. No, it's the market is dropping. This is how you make money off of it. Right. Same thing. AI might be coming for your job. This is how you make sure that you're in a position where you're the one making the cuts by the time that happens. Right. Not the one being cut. In terms of consumer news, COSMC, McDonald's, ticker MCD, will begin testing a new small store format called COSMCs this week, earlier than it previously expected, with plans to open 10 locations by the end of 2024. COSMCs will feature customizable specialty beverages that will rival popular chains like Starbucks. COSMCs, named a space alien character featured in ads in the 1980s, is not the first. Okay. Oh, okay. So COSMCs, which is named after a space alien character featured in ads in the 1980s, is not the first attempt by McDonald's to cash in on nostalgia following a highly successful Grimace birthday meal that went viral in June. The fast food chain has also set ambitious new growth targets, including plans to expand at a record pace to 50,000 restaurants by the end of 2027. This is something that a lot of people, I guess we're talking about. I actually received some questions about it here, kind of going into Q&A today, which, by the way, I'm going to be doing just in a Loom video because I had plans that I've double booked for, and now I need to do the Q&A via a Loom video. So I'll go ahead and record those question answers today, like after market close, so that you can also get that outlook for moving forward at the end of the week. But people were asking like, hey, like, should I short Starbucks because of this news? Should I go long McDonald's? And it's like, at the end of the day, that question is always answered by the charts. No news is going to make you make a decision like that unless it's news that's like immediately it's bullish, right? It's bullish news. But like something like this, you want to look at the charts. Is this bullishness manifesting in the form of the charts, right? Because yesterday Starbucks was up, right? Starbucks was like McDonald's who. So I feel like you want to make sure again that it's not just okay news, and then you see people online and they're like, oh, buy puts on Starbucks right now. McDonald's and Starbucks customers aren't even the same customers. Like people go to Starbucks knowing they're going to spend the price of what they could get a food meal on a drink, right? It's not even the same type of cut. So while that might eat into things, I could see that eating more into like Dunkin' than it would Starbucks because Dunkin' is like a more affordable alternative option. But people who go to Starbucks because it's Starbucks, right? They don't go to otherwise, right? Then every time somebody came out with cheap jeans, they'd be like, oh, Amiri or any of these other brands are toast. It's like it doesn't matter. They're not competing in the same arena. So you want to look and say, okay, is this something that's affecting the stock, right? Check the chart. It's got to be your default for any type of question, any type of news. What is happening charts wise, right? Is this something that is manifesting on the charts? And then if so, I can think about making a move on it. But you don't want to say, hey, Starbucks, because McDonald's decides to come out with, I don't know, their own little mini drive-throughs with drinks. We don't even know when they're happening, when they're coming out, at what point, right? I'm gonna short you. Probably not. If anything, I'd see Starbucks going down. If it does go down, just along with the rest of the market, if the rest of the market goes down, as opposed to this McDonald's news twisting the knife on Starbucks. In terms of healthcare news, neuroscience expansion, Cerevel Therapeutics, ticker CERE, soared 15.5% in after-hours trading on Wednesday as AbbVie agreed to an $8.7 billion acquisition of the drug maker developing therapies for neurological conditions such as Parkinson's and schizophrenia. AbbVie will pay $45 a share in cash for the acquisition, representing a 22% premium in Cerevel's last close. The development marks AbbVie's acquisition spree after last week's $10 billion deal to buy cancer drug maker Immunogen, which Seeking Alpha analyst Brad Guichard called excellently timed. Now, in terms of this being an inside job, before the latest deal announcement, Cerevel's shares climbed 42% this week on no apparent news. Insider trading is a real thing. No, none of these people are going to go to jail. Yes, all I want to do is also do what these people are doing, right? At the end of the day, I'm just looking to make money like everyone else. So it's funny because, there are things that happen like this each and every week, and none of these people get reprimanded. So at the end of the day, the world is going to be what the world is going to be. You just got to figure out how to use that to your advantage, right? Use that to your advantage so that you can put food on the table and care about those that you care about, or care for those that you care about. Now, in terms of defense news, Osprey grounding. The U.S. military has grounded its entire V-22 Osprey aircraft fleet. A fatal crash during the routine training mission occurred last week off Yakushima Island in Japan, which killed 8 Air Force Special Operations Command personnel. Wow. Quote, preliminary investigation information indicates a potential material failure caused the mishap, but the underlying cause is unknown at this time. The AFSOC said, adding that a thorough investigation will be done on the helicopters made by Boeing and Textron's aerospace manufacturing unit, Bell Textron. The crash has renewed concerns over the safety of Ospreys, which have been involved in multiple fatal accidents since the aircraft became operational in 2007. I mean, at the end of the day, like Boeing is just scary to me. Like I get it. Every time I hop on a plane, I'm like more than likely hopping on a Boeing plane. But it's like, man, these crashes. It only takes a few crashes to undermine, everybody's trust in you. And it's just like, whenever I see Boeing attached to something, I just get PTSD. In terms of today's markets, looking mostly red here across the board. Let me see if we're still looking like that. We might have popped. It got a little bit of a pop here before heading into open, but not really too worried about that. I'll still go over this here. In Asia, Japan down 1.8%, Hong Kong down 0.7%, China down 0.1%, India down 0.2%. In Europe, the FTSE in London down 0.1%, Paris down 0.1%, Frankfurt down 0.2%, Dow down 0.2%, S&P flat. Now S&P up a bit, NASDAQ up a bit. Crude, the reason why I say up a bit is because I don't know exactly what the percentage is now. Crude up 0.6%, gold up 0.1%, Bitcoin down 2% to 43K. Initial jobless claims at 8:30 a.m. today. That might have caused some of the pop that we're seeing. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much it in terms of today's economic calendar with stuff that is worth mentioning. So we'll finish up here with our rapid fire stock news rundown. Tobacco Jolt, BAT, I guess that's the name of the company, whose ticker is BTI, writes down $32 billion from value of U.S. brands. Exxon CEO says Guyana dispute resolution likely a couple years away. AMD sinks as it unveils NVIDIA rival updates AI forecast. That's probably why we saw a lot of that AMD, bullish flow coming in over the course of the past few days, which I had mentioned, 2 days ago, which was just people, kind of buying up AMD calls, but it actually ended up sinking, on that news after an initial run up yesterday. Top bank CEOs indicate they can meet proposed capital requirements. Google, ticker GOOG, shows off new Gemini AI model, new chips. Chevron, ticker CVS, plans $16 billion capex in 2024, up 14% from current year. Blackstone Mortgage Trust, ticker BXMT, falls as Carson Black shorts stock. Meta rolls out default end-to-end encryption on Messenger. Thought that was already standard on Messenger. Chewy, ticker CHWY, slips as holiday quarter guidance disappoints. And then this just in, GameStop can invest in other stocks. I don't care anymore about any more GameStop headlines. Like what, man? I don't even I don't even know what that is, but we're ending on a weird note. I feel like that will require more digging. We'll see. If you have the time to do that, maybe a little bit of toilet time, you can check that out, see what that entails. But other than that, guys, let's go out there and execute in markets today, right? Let's be patient. Let's remain patient, stick to the game plan, adhere to the system, take profit right along the way, and let's finish this week strong. Everybody, make sure you have a great rest of the day. I'll see you back here tomorrow morning for our last Premarket Prep session of the week. Have a good one.